The third season of the Miss Pat Show stays a course as it explores more challenging themes and perceptions and seeks to balance processing that trauma with enough laughter to get you through life. So, to summarize the season, pretty much it's about the shift that's happening in the relationship between Miss Pat and Terry and how that's leading to Terry struggling with the different power dynamics that are going on in his place in the household and the relationship as Miss Pat is starting to get more confident and really blow up online to the point where she gets a little bit addicted to her phone and social media. Basic level highlights just it's still a very funny show that makes it clear that life isn't all fun and games. It can balance jokes about Janelle accidentally sending nudes to her mom's phone, while it goes into Denise having fights because she's being discriminated against because she's a little bit more hood, Terry struggling with shifts in his household and marriage, as well as through one character, Trina, showing you that sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying. For the second highlight, I want to touch on Trina, who's a character that I believe is Miss Pat's niece, cousin, something like that in this show. And what I want to bring up Trina for is because Trina's a character you very much expect to see in a drama like The Shy or something like that, and not really get to be in a comedy. But because Miss Pat's show is a dramedy which focuses on comedy first and drama secondary, you can have a Trina character who has gone through so much between her being, I believe, born in prison herself, who's on the run from this drug dealer, and yet it reminds you that people who may have had these dramatic and traumatic lives, they can still be funny, they can still sing and have potential outside of what society sees of them. And I would say that her character really pushes you to understand why the Miss Pat show deserves its own pedestal amongst sitcoms, because it knows how to present the less advertised parts of Black and even urban culture while never coming to the point where I think anybody should feel ashamed. For in many ways, this is trying to depict the whole truth and not exploit certain individuals or types of people. So the last highlight is that when it comes to this show, it reminds you that once you stop watching, life doesn't necessarily stop for these characters. And what I mean by that is, it's clear that almost all the characters have a past, a lot of which what we've seen, and also they're working on some type of future. In terms of the past, mainly in arguments, we hear about Miss Pat's abortion, Brandon being a stripper, and things of that nature. But at the same time, it also reminds us that life is moving forward as Brandon is now looking to have a day job. Junebug's dating and even got a white girl pregnant, which, note, this season doesn't really touch much on interracial relationships and all that Miss Pat can say about that, but it is showing that he's growing up just as much as Janelle. Between sending out a nude photo to trying to get into college, she is also progressing towards something. And mind you, I would say only Terry and Miss Pat really have like a notable arc. Everybody else maybe has an episode that touches upon what's going on in their life, but it really feels like a reward when it comes to shows like this or even 911, when it reminds you that, hey, this happened in the past and that's what's leading to this situation happening now. And because you have been following along, it feels like a treat to know that these people are progressing and not kind of just stuck in place for as long as they can be until it's clear they have to be forced out of the situation. With that said, a part of me does feel like when it comes to serious topics and situations, sometimes this show should have put more time into things. For, again, Miss Pat is not an open and shut type of show. Things happen in the past, you can see they affect what happened in the future, whether it's characters like Trina showing up, whether it's because Miss Pat wasn't the most accepting when it comes to Ashley and her being queer, how that led to Ashley picking certain partners you can possibly say was a factor. But to me, setting those aside, one of the main things that kind of bugged me a bit is that Terry is the only character who really has like long arcs on this whole show. And when it comes to his arc this season, it's all about him progressing at work as his relationship with Miss Pat gets complicated. And while his progress at work is wonderful, we have him impressing his boss Max, played by Jaleel White, who you know for Steve Urkel. There's also this HR storyline where he has an emotional affair with this woman named Michelle, who's a HR manager, and this show just kind of opens up with that. It doesn't start in the beginning of the season, but like midpoint, it kind of opens up, and then within like 2 to 3 episodes, it all gets shut down. And while you get it's because Terry feels less needed, especially because Miss Pat was so reliant on him before, it does make you wish that this show, because it does act as a dramedy, would lean on the drama more. And I would even add in that when it comes to Terry also developing an opioid addiction, the fact that it kind of has this weird like peak and then rise and fall very quickly. It's like they recognize that the guy who plays Terry, he can handle these type of topics and really give a good performance, but it doesn't let him truly explore the issue, explore the problem, and really kind of get into the wound. You know, it's like a quick, oh, you cut yourself, quick sew up, band-aid, move on. And as a second on defense topic, I really do hope with all my heart that when it comes to season 4, which is currently being filmed, it's not all on Terry to give dramatic performances. I think in the last season when Miss Pat was having an issue with her mom and her hair, it allowed her to really explore herself as a dramatic actor. And I hope that when it comes to Janelle, Brandon, Ashley, Junebug, they could also have episodes, not just an episode, but episodes where they can really show that they're not just comedic actors who know how to do a good line or anything like that, but they can truly show the diversity, because right now the only person who's getting work outside of the Miss Pat show is Tammy Roman, who's had a career long before this show came about, and also Miss Pat. So I don't know how long BET Plus is going to keep this show around. I think it's one of their longest running originals, but in my mind, these other actors, they need to start preparing for life after Miss Pat. And I do know the actress who plays Janelle was in something else that I think was on BET, but I just hope that they don't kind of get stuck in the BET ecosystem, since unfortunately, unlike HBO, Disney, and all these other entities, the BET ecosystem doesn't really push you into positions where you can truly thrive. You'll be able to keep a job and keep your SAG card, but as for truly thrive and have like a flourishing career, I don't think BET or even BET Plus as a network has the infrastructure or even really the type of ability to really make somebody's career, and not just in terms of Miss Pat, give them the opportunity that they've long deserved, that takes advantage of them rather than really gives them like a true boost. Overall, when it comes to this 3rd season of the Miss Pat show, I still feel like Miss Pat show is definitely in a league of its own, and not just because of it being one of BET Plus's longest running series, but also because as a sitcom, the way it pursues its topics, the way it pursues its characters, even its guest stars, it definitely doesn't feel like something that has any peers. And even if you want to look back and kind of compare it, outside of maybe the Bernie Mac show, I can't think of anything else that knows how to be raw, truly address issues, yet at the same time never forget that it's a comedy. But even in terms of remembering it's a comedy, also recognize that most comedy, especially for Black comedians, usually come from either issues they personally deal with or issues they helped other people deal with.